All right, good morning. How are y'all doing? Good? Good. Well, we are in, as we've been through this year, Verses That You Stand On. It actually comes from a book that had 100 verses, but we've chosen, about 50 of those that we're thinking it's a good thing for us to at least reflect on, even better for us to memorize, even more better for us to use. So that when we approach things that are hard or difficult, things that we want to give thanks for, that we would return to these verses, because we know that as we learn the words of God and as we speak those words, we become more like Him, which is what He wants. He wants us to speak like Him. He wants us to comfort like Him. He wants us to love like Him, because when we do that, it's good. It's good for us and it's good for others. This morning, we're going to be looking at worries, burdens, anxieties. If you have some anxieties about anything, okay? Peter was the one who wrote this verse, and I had alluded to this earlier. He was a failed disciple. And in some ways, he may have been a failed fisherman, because many say, why would he leave what he left to go with Jesus? Maybe he was a successful one. We have no idea, really. But he had seen a lot of failure. Not only was he a failed disciple, but then we'll know as you go through his history, he was a failed leader of the church after Jesus rose. If you remember, he was in the process of trying to figure out, how do we include non-Jewish people? And God gave him a dream saying, absolutely include non-Jewish people. And he was kind of excited about it, but then when the pressures hit, he kind of broke down and was like, okay, well, we don't have to. And Paul then had to correct him. I was thinking, that's the most embarrassing thing for a pastor, is to have another pastor correct you when you're in front of people. Right? And you guys can know that in your own careers, that if a coworker corrects you and you're like, okay. And when you know they're right? When you know you're wrong, it's really embarrassing. Well, that happened to Peter. He's a bit of a failure, but even in those failed attempts of just trying to follow Jesus, he then is instructing the church how to move forward with the anxieties or the burdens or the failures that you hold on to, how to cast those away. So it's important as we think about this, the context of what Peter is writing, because this is post everything else. This is towards the end of his life when he writes this. He's no longer the failed church leader. He's now looked to as one of the best apostles, one that if Peter comes to your church, the church listens, because he has failed but then been lifted up. And I think that's one of the reasons why people relate to Peter so much, is that we understand what it means to screw up. We understand what it means to have a lack of faith. We understand what it means to speak before you think. And so Peter wrote this, 1 Peter chapter 5, 5 through 7. In the same way, you who are younger, so he's writing to the church, kind of telling a church how to act. This is what he's saying. In the same way, you who are younger must accept the authority of the elders. And all of you, dress yourselves in humility as you relate to one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So humble yourselves under the mighty power of God, and the right time he'll lift you up in honor. Give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you. So that verse 7, give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you. That's in the NLT, New Living Translation. We use that most commonly here at Oikos, and the reason why we use that is because it's a very common language. It's called a dynamic translation, which means they use the Greek and the Hebrew, but they look at the Greek specifically, and in this case, this part of the Bible is written in Greek. And so they look at that Greek specifically and they go, well, what would be the best way to say that in today's language? And that's called a dynamic translation. I'm going to read the ESV. That's a little bit more what we call a direct translation, which is they're just trying to get a word with the Greek that matches or a phrase, and they just plop it in there. So we don't use the ESV. This is a little side to the sermon. I wasn't even going to talk about this, but here we go. We don't use that because sometimes it's really hard to read because it's not like you would speak. And so I prefer for you guys to hear the word and go, that's what it means. Then go, what? So that's kind of what we do. But ESV sometimes gives us another little picture, another perspective of what that verse, what Peter may have been saying at that time. So 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Now, when I read that, do any of you sometimes go, that sounds really nice, but how? I want you to think for a moment, what is a primary anxiety in your life right now? Finances. Just work. Moving. Is that it? Too much work. Grandson leaving, going to college. Anybody have parents? Taking care of them? Anybody got kids? Taking care of them? Anybody got a friend struggling? I'll say one of mine is I've got a friend who is married 20 plus years, but their marriage looks like it's crumbling. They don't live close, so it's not like I can just go over there and be there for my friend. So everything's done through phone call and text message. And there's a little bit of like every time I send a text message, is that the right thing to say? There's a little anxiety. Casting all your anxieties on him. So how do you cast? I want you to think about that anxiety that's in your life and go, so he says to do this. So, Kelsey, you have a little anxiety about moving, cast it. Now, when you say that, some people go, thanks a lot. So we're going to look a little bit about what it means to cast today. So this is going to be a little more practical message. Some of you may have picked up the book that we've based this whole year on, the 100 Verses. And I thought the author, Robert Morgan, did a nice job of kind of going through cast and giving us a little acronym to kind of work through and say, when I'm going to cast something, this is what I need to do. So we're going to work through that this morning. Casting your anxiety on the Lord. So C-A-S-T. So the very first thing that you do is C. And it is, he wrote, commit. I would tell you, maybe it should be confess. But to confess, you got to commit. You got to commit that you actually have something that's there. So you start by naming what is causing your anxiety. And you try to be specific. So not just, so Rosalinda, you said finances. You don't say just finances because that's kind of broad, right? That can encompass a whole bunch of things, and before we know it, it's not one anxiety we're trying to narrow down. We're hitting several anxieties. That finances include work, and they include too much work, and they include how you take care of your parents, and it may include moving, and that doesn't really help your anxiety, right? So you're focusing in and you're saying, what is it about finances that I have anxiety? Is it perhaps I have an electric bill that I cannot pay? I don't know where the money's coming from. I'm not sure. Or is it an impending retirement? And you're going, I really don't want to work anymore, but I'm concerned I won't have enough money to not work. So what is it specifically? So in moving, are you right if I use you this morning? Thanks, Kelsey. In moving, what specifically is it? What is the most uncertain thing? Okay. So, and that could be either a house, apartment, / whatever, right? And what is it that you're anxious about? Whether you'll be close to work, whether you'll be able to afford it, whether... So Kelsey's going to do this. She's going to take that specific thing and go, Lord, there's some things that are causing me anxiety because it's coming up quickly. I'm unsure where we're going to find to live. I'm sure you want to have a nice place for you and Tyler to start new. So I'm looking for something, and I'm not sure if it'll be there. And you're going to say, Lord, I can't fix this. I need you to take it. I know you are able because you already carried the greatest burden, our sin, on the cross. Your empty tomb declares that nothing is beyond restoration. This is your prayer. And that is your commit. I can't fix this. You are not an apartment building owner in the Seattle region that you can just say, we're going to have one. But you can say, Lord, take this. Because if you can prepare a place for me in heaven, surely you can prepare a place for me on the West Coast. You guys got that part? Commit or confess. It starts with being real with what it really is. I think sometimes in our anxieties, we get messed up in a continual circle of every other thing without committing to one thing and saying, Lord, let's start there. That's why I asked if there's one thing, one anxiety that kind of hits your list on the highest, go there first. Sarah is an educator, as you know. Her wisest words I always carry with me is that when you're working with a kid and they have a whole mess of challenges, start with one thing. You're not going to fix everything on the first day of school with everything this kid has, but you can start with one thing. And if it's getting to school on time, then you start there. And that may mean that you take the process of talking to the parents and helping them figure out why are they going to be late, what's going on with transportation, and you begin working that one problem. The kid may be all over the walls in the school. The kid may have a whole bunch of other things, like they can't read, and they should be able to read by now, but you're going to start with, let's try getting them to school on time. So in your life and anxieties, you start with one, and you go, Lord, I can't fix this. And it's bringing me anxiety because I really can't fix this. I'm confessing to you, I really don't know. Even if I'm putting up a mask for others to think that I do know, I really, if I'm honest, do not know. And so I need you to take it, and I know you are able. That's a statement of faith reminding you of the character of God. It's actually kind of funny if you think about it. Some of the things that we have: anxiety, finances. We talk about the 5 capitals. Finance is the lowest capital. It's the easiest thing. It can come to you in plentiful ways, and then all of a sudden it's gone. But in God's kingdom, I can guarantee you he's not thinking about money. That's not part of the process for him. He knows that it's part of our process, and so he provides resources. But for the well-being of Robert, he's not going, I need to make sure he has enough money. He's way beyond that. He is able to carry these things. So commit. The next thing is A for ask. So we're C-A. So we know that Jesus asked in the garden when he was under extreme pressure and burden. He knew he was going to the cross. If you know this story, tears of blood came because he was so burdened with the sin of the world, and the process that he was about to take place was not a process of just dying on the cross. It was separation from his Father, to be cursed so that we could be blessed. So don't sit in fear and frenzy, but instead ask this prayer. Lord, if possible, take this from me. We're basically saying the things that Jesus said in that garden that night. So in the moving, Kelsey's also going to say, your will be done. Even if that means we're living in some weird place that we don't necessarily want to live in, your will be done. Your will be done even if we think we're stretching ourselves financially. Your will be done. Your will be done, Lord, even if we have to live with our parents and we don't want to. Your will be done. Help us to trust you in this. So, Lord, if possible, take this from me. But more than that, let your will be done. Give me wisdom, clarity, and peace. I want to listen before I act and trust before I worry. So let's listen to that. I want to listen before I act. Think about how many times you act before you even have listened to what the Lord is saying. And trust before I worry. Ooh, what would your life look like if you approached your anxieties this way? I'm working towards trusting before I worry about what tomorrow will bring. So this comes from Matthew 26, verse 39. He went on a little farther and bowed with his face to the ground, praying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. So you ask. Okay. S, surrender. So let go of your plan and let God's timing and purpose move forward. Sometimes our anxieties are because we've situated a plan, and some of you are super awesome, and you have prayed, and you've thought about it, and you've written down this plan. And then anxiety comes because your plan's not working. So maybe in moving, you've called an apartment place and you've done all the things you're supposed to do and no one's gotten back to you. Or you have tried to get out of a lease or start something new and everyone says no. Those are things where we go, my plan's not working. Do I trust God enough to surrender it? So some of us type A people have a real issue with letting go of control. So in your surrender, you say, not my way, Lord, but yours. And this is, I'm not sure if it's easy. It's hard to say this in the moment, but it gets easier the more you say it. So the more you put together plans and you go, wait a minute, not my way, but your way, the easier it becomes. And I'll tell you, there's more peace. So in your apartment search, when you hit dead ends, you surrender it. And you go, not my way, Lord, but yours. Not my timing, but yours. Turn my fear into wonder. I want you to think about that. What if instead of focusing on everything that could go wrong, if you started to focus on everything that could be awesome? A wonder. When God does things, he's not against you. And sometimes we're so upset that our plan is not working, we don't let any wonder come in. It's almost like all of a sudden the God of wonder, we've sang that song before, is no longer wonderful because our plan isn't working. So turn your fear into wonder. Turn what was meant for harm into good. So maybe the obstacles that are coming your way are outside of your control, and it's other people. I mean, maybe it's a boss that's causing anxiety in work, and it's not just your perspective. This is a company's perspective that this person is just awful. Well, your prayer is turn what is meant for harm into good. He did that with Joseph. Why would he not do that with you? Teach me to dwell on who you are instead of what I fear. So in surrendering, hold on to that phrase. Teach me to dwell on who you are instead of what I fear. So the moment you start fearing, God always wants you, and this is why he said this throughout Scripture all the time, do not fear, for I am the Lord your God. For many times he says, the one who brought you out of Egypt. When you start to fear, pause and go, I'm going to think about who he is. An apartment, right? And this isn't to make this seem like, why are you worried about that? God is much bigger than an apartment. God is much bigger than finances or work. He's bigger than raising your kids or sending your kids off. Who is he? Who is God? Go ahead. This is your participation. Who is he? He's your father. Not just any father. He's a good father. So sometimes when people hear that word father, they go, and others go, oh, I love my dad. Well, he is a good father. So what does a father do? Protects and provides. He is that. What else is he? He's a counselor. He will listen to you like no one else. When your wife or your husband are like, do you have to tell me that one more time? When you get upset with work and you realize you're saying something, you can speak that to him and he listens. When you get worried about your finances, you can speak to that. When your plan has failed, you can speak to that. And not only does he listen, but then he, through the Holy Spirit, gives you direction. Who else is he? What else do you know about your Lord? He's a friend that sticks with you, right? He's a friend that, have you ever been a bad friend to somebody? Any of you? Have you been a bad friend before? You know, the friend that's always like, listen to my problems, they're much bigger than yours. Well, he's a friend that, Doug, he doesn't get tired of you. when other people are like, "Ugh," he doesn't do that. He is a really good friend. He is faithful. He sees the good that no one else can. And he forgets the stuff that you've done when no one else will. That's a good friend. Doesn't dredge up old things that you did. Doesn't say, yeah, right, I bet you will do that. You've never done that before. I mean, I've been a bad friend to some people who show up late because I go, late again. I mean, I do this to my poor friend Victor all the time. I'm like, Victor, when you say you're going to be here at 4 o'clock, you're never going to be here till like 5 or 6. And he's like, oh, come on. Well, God somehow has the patience to not do that. And he sticks with you. This is what I want you to do. When you begin to fear, think about who he is instead of what you're fearing. You guys got that? That's surrendering. If you're willing to surrender and go, I'm not going to let fears direct my life. Instead, I'm going to let the one who actually directs my life. And the last thing, we're on cast. So we've done C, which is commit or confess. We've done A, which is ask. We've done S, which is surrender. And now we're on T, which is trust. So remind yourself, this comes right from surrender, who God is and what he promised. So not only just his characteristics, but now what he's promised. David wrote this in Psalm 55:22. This is my confirmation verse. Give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. Now, David is one who actually saw some of this in his life. He was almost killed by Saul. He was chased for years under persecution because Saul was threatened by his own kingship. And David writes, give your burdens to the Lord. He will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. If anyone should have feared slipping and falling, it should have been David. But he said, give them to the Lord. Paul, the Apostle Paul, also wrote to the Roman church. This is Romans 8. And the Father who knows all hearts knows what the Spirit is saying. For the Spirit pleads for us believers in harmony with God's own will. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. For God knew his people in advance, and he chose them to become like his Son, so that his Son would be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And having chosen them, he called them to come to him. And having called them, he gave them right standing with himself. And having given them right standing, he gave them his glory. This is the God we serve. This is the God we can trust. A God who has known you, he has called you, he has sent you, he has claimed you as his own. He is a good father. He doesn't look to destroy you. He only looks to restore you. That's who we serve. So when we have an anxiety or burden, we can cast them. This is how you cast. Be specific. Commit to it. Confess it. Go to him and ask about it. Surrender it. Say, not my will, Lord, but yours. And in the end, trust that the one who is working out has sent his Spirit upon you so that he can speak for you in ways that you cannot speak, is doing something good in you, no matter what the circumstances are. so that we can proclaim, you never fail, you always provide. You carry my burdens. I trust you to work all things together for good because I love you and I'm called according to your purpose. So how do you cast your burdens? It's really prayer. That's this whole process of casting. I want you to leave here with an image of Jesus in the garden with the biggest burden on his shoulders. And what did he do? He knelt down and he prayed to his Father and he said, not my will, but your will be done. And I will do this according to your will. If you can take it, Lord, from me, then do so. If not, I will move forward, knowing that you love me and knowing that this is your plan to save the world. We follow that. The best person to follow is Jesus. And did he go through a process of mourning and weeping? And yeah. So that's natural. When you have a parent who is ill and you're trying to take care of them and you don't know the best way to do it, there's going to be some mourning and weeping, and there may be some exchanges that you wish didn't occur. You return to casting. Lord, I don't know what to do, but you do. And you have the power to do this. When you have a relationship that's failing, I can't tell my friend, if you do these things, your marriage is going to be restored. I can say, these are the things of successful marriages. But when your marriage is failing, you probably don't see those things. So it's just another on him. But I can say, God has never failed you. And he never will. Cast this over to him. Listen to him before you act. Before you say something to her, ask him if that's what you need to be saying. When you mess up, he's the God who forgives you. He is a good friend, even when you're not a good one. He will guide you through this. And regardless of what happens in the marriage, he is for you. And he's even for your ex-wife at that time. Because he wants you restored in his kingdom, even if there's brokenness here on earth. That's who our God is. He's waiting for you to cast. So you guys equipped? Are you ready? Are you going to live in your fear, or are you going to live in who you know him to be? That's not rhetorical. Probably a little both. Little combo. So in those combos, because that's real, right? The combo is, if we walked out of here and said, I'm always, before I even fear, I'm going to just go, but I know the Lord, and I know who he is, that's really not realistic, right? Because all it's going to take is driving somewhere and having your car break down and realize that you don't have enough money in your bank to fix your car, and then you have to get to work the next day, and it starts to spiral. What this is about is to stop you before you spiral. And go, I'm giving this to you, Lord. I'm trusting you because you've always been there and you always will be. Amen? Amen. Let's pray.